Welcome at this workshop on mobile applications to assess stress. I understood that some of you have already been harassed by some fancy type of magic being placed on your hand. Well, that's precisely what we're going to discuss today. How mobile can you make stress management? I'm Victor Cullen from TNO. Got a PhD background in the neurobiology of stress and anxiety. For example, post-traumatic stress, anxiety disorders and the like. And since, well, a year or 8, 9, now at TNO, developing a lot of projects and programs to make all this neurobiological expertise and knowledge, well, available in hardware and some software like you have on your hand today. Yeah? The first part of the meeting today will be about a little bit of, how to say, scientific background to show you what makes sense, what might make sense, what's not likely to make sense, and what's utterly foolish in this arena. Unfortunately, we've got some showcases and technologies available that my friend and partner Henk-Jan Zwolle will present to you in the second part of the meeting. Well, there we go. Before I can explain a little bit how it is that we respond to stress as we do, it's, well, a little bit necessary to investigate the human brain in relation to some other types of neurophysiology. And it's up to your perspective whether we consider it to be something intelligence design, godly, yeah? So the end stage in the hierarchical trajectory leading up to mankind, the top end, or hardcore biology, evolution, yeah? A gradual chronological development over time into the right-hand side neurobiology. And I can tell a lot based on this picture, but I won't tell you too much. Apart from some very fundamental and relevant things we should take into account when we try to monitor stress on an individual basis. Step number one, it's always quite jolly to reflect on the matter that organizations like NASA, you know NASA? Yeah, NASA is a known organization. They have some stress sometimes, yeah? And, but they spend billions of dollars, not kidding you, billions of dollars, in efforts to find one dead bacteria on Mars. I'm not sure whether they are successful already. They found some hunches, but I don't think they actually found the bacteria yet. Though never anywhere in the galaxy we have found a technology, an organism, an entity that is better capable to process information than one human brain. It's amazing. Yeah? Congratulations. You are, all of you are the owner of one piece of the most amazing piece of software information processing technology available in the galaxy. Always interesting to notice that some people, well, actually do not know how to appreciate the potency, but that's a different presentation for another audience. Secondly, companies like IBM, Google, they spend billions of dollars and efforts to develop a computer artificial intelligence entity that's able to process just as much and efficient information as one human brain. And the deadline was 2020. Well, the deadline is gone, their efforts and investments yet not. Yeah, so they're already aware that they won't be able to come up with this type of artificial intelligence, yeah, before 2020. So they continue their endeavor, though, yeah, 2020 will definitely not be met. Hey, oh, Dr. Cullen, but we just saw a computer that has beaten the world champion in chess. Even worse, one computer that could beat the world champion in Go, even more complicated. How come? How come? How come? Well, it's actually quite simple. If I go to that computer and I ask, please, provide me with a recipe for lasagna tonight, So it's very good in Go or chess or anything else, but it takes quite some time to have it learn how to make an appropriate lasagna. Yeah? And one of these thingies obviously is neuroplasticity. In our brains, we make networks, and that those networks can always change and be adapted based on new information, new experience, etc., etc. And obviously, that's very hard to, well, design, get it operational in a computer, because they are hardcore chips. Well, let's get to the topic of today. Because more prominent, we have another issue here. Yeah? Being that the societal and technological developments over the past 100 to 150 years commenced in such a pace, yeah, that neurobiology wasn't able to keep up. Yeah? We have not been designed to cope with next week's deadline. Okay? I'm sorry to say, for some athletes here in the room, the Olympic Games, they are ridiculous. And it's been shown every time again. It's very hard to plan today a golden medal in 4 years' time, because all those things you have to do, and where it can all go wrong in that trajectory, it's too much for our neurophysiology. Yeah? So what is the typical type of stressor that we can cope with, what we actually like? There it is. Yeah? So our neurobiology has been designed to overcome stressors like this. Good question, but how do we get to that deadline next week? We can reflect to that a little bit later. Yeah? Because first, of course, the question is, what happens in our brain when we're close here to the Amsterdam woods? You realize that we're close here to Amsterdam? Yeah? Yeah? There could be a bear. Yeah? Okay. So when you walk out to the parking lot or the metro station, be aware. You might just run into the bear. What happens in the brain when indeed you are surprised by a predator? First information goes to the thalamus, and the thalamus is like the neuron. Yeah? It means your system understands that it seems that there is some important information for your survival coming in via your eyes. Yeah? It could be a big bang, so it comes in via your ears. That's another sensory entity. It could be, ouch, you're burning your fingers. That is what we call tactile. Yeah? And the thalamus decides which neural networks have to be activated to properly cope with the predator. Yeah? 2 routes, via the cortex, I'll tackle back to that a little bit later, and a very quick interaction with a small organ right there. What might that be? Quiz question. Simply Google stress and neurobiology, and you will find over 1 billion hits on the amygdala. There it is. Yeah? And what does the amygdala do? The amygdala quickly investigates on key features whether or not your life might be on the line. What are key features that might indicate serious danger for you as a physical entity? That it is a purple bear? Hey guys, listen up. What happened to me today? I've been consumed by a purple bear. Who cares? Huh? Did you know that it's a vegetarian type of bear? Hey, maybe you should look that up on Wikipedia this afternoon, yeah? When you survive the encounter. Those are not the gambles you can take on the spot itself. What makes this a very threatening and serious stimulus to respond on? That predatorial. Those teeth coming at you with a lot of noise. Yeah? And you will respond. You will respond. There's one type of fellas that do not respond so good. And you don't want to meet them. Then we're talking about psychopathy. Yeah? But the average individual will respond. And I don't know how my colleagues found that one out, but it's there when you're born. Yeah? So even newborns already have this startle reflex when being encountered by, well, very fundamental types of threat. Got it? So, there are two options. Either the threat is so severe and or your amygdala is so sensitive, there are enormous individual differences about how sensitive your amygdala is for all these ambiguous signals from your environment that might indicate stress. We're all different here, you know? Yeah? So if either the stress is significantly severe and or you're quite sensitive, then we're not going to wait for the additional information, but the quick route is being activated, associated with the flight or fight response, and there the genuine panic attack takes over. Ta-da! Bye-bye. Yeah? So, what does that mean in relation to what we are discussing today? A typical stress response, always, yes, always, no kidding, yeah, follows 3 stages. Got it? Scientifically proven. For what's that word? The first initial response is what we call a reflex. Yeah? Flight or fight, freeze or faint response. If the stressor isn't dealt with immediately, then over time a hormonal response will follow. Maybe some of you have heard about the stress hormone cortisol, something alike. Yeah, there it is. And my grandmother always told me, and ratio comes last. There you have it. Yeah? So when you realize you're in trouble, yeah, 2/3 of a stress response have already, well, more or less being activated and are ongoing in an enormous pace. And that has fundamental, well, complications, for example, when you're engaged in an argument. But maybe we have time to reflect on that a little bit later. How does it work? Easy, easy peasy. Once again, you're going out here and you run into the Amsterdam wood bear. There it is, the big brown predator. And of course you're startled. And what do? Flight or fight? We take the flight. So you turn around and you sprint away as fast as you can. Okay? What happens? Athletes in the room here, people doing some sports sometime. Yeah? What happens after 20 seconds in your leg? What do you feel? Ouch! Yeah, verzuring, eh? Lactate. So some people do not believe in something like biofeedback. Oh yeah. What happens then? You cannot suppress it. You look over your shoulder. Where's the predator? And what do you see? Oh gee. Yeah? It's not about the sprint today. Yeah? It's going to be a little bit more extensive. So you're going to decrease your pace a little bit, but you're already starting to prepare to a run for at least 10 minutes. Ja? Een duurloopje. Yeah? So an additional second stage in your moon rocket, phase 2, yeah, is being activated to provide you with energy resources for this ongoing, more or less steady state stress response. What happens after, say, 12 minutes? 12 to 40 minutes. Yeah, you get a little bit tight on your lungs. So what happens? Still people who are not believing in biofeedback, there it comes. What do? Behavior. You look over your shoulder. What do you see? A really hungry bear. So hell, we have a problem. Maybe we should change our strategy. Yeah, maybe we should jump into a tree, get myself behind a closed door, find some friends who can fight the bear for me. Yeah? Because what happens half an hour later if you weren't able to cope with this bear problem? 1 is exhausted, 2 is exhausted, 3 is exhausted. You are a disgrace for evolution. Bye-bye. Yeah, your dinner for the bear. So human neurobiology is typically designed to overcome stressors and challenges up to, say, 70, 80 minutes. And then we have to do something. Yeah? So if you didn't manage on a short fight, if you didn't manage on your sustainability, stage 2, if you didn't manage because you're a clever guy, options are over. Maybe your good looks might help you, or simply faint. So then you suggest that you have been, well, deceased. So predators don't like to eat dead meat. They like fresh meat. So last resort, so to say. Yeah? So that means, and now it actually becomes quite straightforward. So far, okay with you? Pace is okay? Yeah? Good. That means that all those A-specific typical stress symptoms that are hard to interpret generally now actually become quite, well, easy to follow. Because we've got these cardiovascular issues, hyperarousal, sleeplessness, but depression and anxiety, and they have all been associated with disturbances in the red zone. Yeah? So to say the brainstem, primary life functions, yeah? Body temperature, circadian rhythms, cardiovascular control, etc. But that means that you have a wide range of potential biomarkers you could use to investigate, monitor, follow whether or not somebody is going to show over time or maybe already present the type of symptoms that may indicate the development of any of these. Okay? Known to you? Not known to you? As from today? Houston, there is a problem. It's an enormous industry. Only in the red zone. Stress erasers, HeartMath, all of this, based on all of this. But we've got the data, and it has been published, showing, and you can follow, hopefully, if you look at this picture, that it at max covers only 16 to 20% of the variants and symptoms in high-risk groups. So if you already have a burnout, or a depression, or an anxiety disorder, okay? Because I hope you can follow and understand, if you look to this picture, you're only covering, say, 1/3 of the typical symptoms and issues, 1/5 incorporated in association of psychological stress. So the rest is being explained by being physical fit, age, etc., potential other medical conditions. So yes, it's useful, but with some restraints. Don't get overconfident in this technology you developed here. Because, and that's rapidly under development right now, we have these hormonal issues that are quite prominent as well. And yes, guys, just like females, yeah, we've got our hormonal issues as well. Okay? Because this hormonal axis, most prominently the HPA axis, with the adrenal gland in the end, is involved in immune processes as well, and then metabolics. Yeah? So all these stress-associated outcomes with somatic outcomes are generally best explained by the relation with these hormonal processes. Yeah? So opportune infections, diarrhea over time, more quickly development of diabetes, etc., etc. Interesting issue. If you start brooding, yeah, your stress hormone concentrations increase. Yeah? You can indeed brood yourself into illness. It works the other way around as well. So for perfect mental preparation for example, Olympic finale, you have to manage the blue zone. But that's for the coffee after this meeting. I'll tell you how. Yeah? But the technological challenge, of course, is that these are totally different types of assessments you have to do to get some insight into, well, the development of this type of disturbances. Yeah? Here we're talking electrodes. Fitbit, health watches, things like that. Here we're talking biochemical analytics on saliva, blood, hair. We can do it in hair these days. Yeah? And then we didn't cover the psychological side of the matter. Yeah? So once again, there are typical symptoms associated, for example, with an upcoming burnout. in the psychological domain. And here two funny things emerge from a policy perspective. I don't know if you're aware of a very typical, interesting Dutch type of disease. We call it the Dutch burnout. Sorry? No, it's called the Dutch burnout. The funny thing of the Dutch burnout, we Dutch are very good in statistics. Yeah? So we keep anything in records. And the funny thing is of the Dutch burnout, it develops overnight. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the telephone goes of the department manager, and then the employee says, I'm sorry, it's too much, I'm overcome, and I won't be coming to work for the weeks, months to come. Burned out. And that's quite interesting, because according to statistics, yesterday he was motivated, happy, yeah, doing well, feeling good, joyful, etc., etc. Of course not. So, but from a statistical perspective, this burnout, the steadily development of these symptoms over time, actually, well, evolve overnight, from one day to the next. And that's obviously not the case. Yeah? And there's an additional thingy then and there. And after this telephone call, anything is allowed and possible. Yeah? So then we spend tens of thousands of euros in training, support, hiring other people to do the work, tra-la-la-la-la. Then anything can be discussed. A short break, yeah? Holiday or whatever a few weeks earlier, no way. But then anything is arranged. We have a cure economy, not a care economy. Yeah? And the second issue, of course, when we're talking about stress and the development of stress-related, even serious disease, look how we organized in the Western world our health system. Cardiology, endocrinology, neurology, yes, we don't know. So then it must be psychiatry. Yeah? It's amazing. People can bounce around in our health system for months, going from one department to the other and back, because nobody is able to pinpoint, yeah, these aspecific or consider these aspecific symptoms in one holistic picture. Yeah? Seriously, cases are there everywhere. So now the question is, to quickly advance a little bit, how can we design, that was actually my task a few years ago, a type of platform, assessment battery, whatever method that will bring all these assessments together to get a clear-cut picture of any given individual. For example, employee, or might be an athlete, or a soldier, or an adolescent in emotional trouble. Yeah, but how are we going to bring this all together on a platform? Yeah? Well, the primary outline follows the same route. So question is, how can we, well, get established parameters of all of this all in a validated algorithm together, what's with a comfortable, obviously, interface. And there our proof of concept is. Yeah, so this is 4 years ago, where we can see what the autonomic nervous system is doing, those stress hormones, and things like mood and having energy, etc., etc. And then we can identify, calculate some kind of overall score, and we can easily follow it, well, from day to day. However, to do this properly, you have to come to a hospital or a clinic or whatever. Not good. We want an assessment protocol that can be done daily, so say 2 to 4 minutes, max. Though reliable. That's complicated. Yeah? That's technically complicated. Fortunately, there are a lot of developments on the hardware side. Yeah? A lot of APIs have been developed. Well, you're probably quite aware of it. Some being quite pretentious, but nevertheless, we tested a lot of them. We even, technology is developed for ambulance EEG recordings, what's going on in your brain. New prototypes, next generation smartwatches that incorporate indeed models like this. So instead of just putting any type of sensor in the smartwatch or the band or whatever that we have available, because that's good for sales, let's call it a health watch or something, a Fitbit, yeah, and what should you do with all these figures about your own whatever, yeah, it's hard to interpret what comes out. So now a generation is being developed based on this methodology. There's the prototype, and we even have some, well, ambulance type of frontal EEG devices. So, quiz question here. What's operational, what's not? Wat is beschikbaar op dit moment, wat niet? Gok je? Or not? Alles? No. This one is a nice picture, but no, it's not operational. This one is operational. We give you some insight in a few minutes. This one is under development. So that goes well, and this one is available indeed on the market. Yeah? So just to show you that fortunately now hardware is being developed that allows us to indeed assess, monitor, measure the relevant parameters based on models of human neurophysiology in relation to stress development over time. But it's an ongoing research and development enterprise. And indeed, this is the type of technology that's ready to go on the market, evolving from this design. And the Stress Coach app, what we are today, we are here to discuss, yeah, simply looks like this. Incorporating the red and the green zone, yeah? So unfortunately, a reliable point of care assessment of, for example, cortisol is not yet available, though the overall algorithms are based on the same type of data. Yep. Additional advantage, my colleague, Henk-Jan Zwolle and partner, can show you much more about the operational app in a few minutes. He'll probably do. And, but lastly, the additional good news, over time at least, being that you are able to monitor your employers, coaches, whatever in this way, is that you're much better able to link particular disturbances or types of stress in your physiology to most likely effective interventions. That can be sports or biofeedback training, heart march stress races, and like that. And what do we do if we have to cope with stressors that extend the, say, 70-minute barrier? Yep, we are starting to eat pizzas. Yeah? So stress will influence your dietary preferences. You are kidding me. No, I'm not. We had a crisis, you know, you remember, or it's already been flushed away? Yeah? All multinationals, yeah, going apart from two. It was even on the national news. Which two actually increased their benefits? McDonald's and Starbucks. Press my case. Yeah, you even see it on population scale, and we definitely see it in, well, emergency teams and things like that. Yeah? So, all these in this way, we can attach, well, specific types of, well, known interventions, basically, to disturbances associated with these domains. And it works marvelous, but yeah, okay, we shouldn't do too much marketing here today, but there it is.